roar. And then he came back the next day, and he did what? He came back early, and he did Mr. Bigsby's job, and he helped in the library. And he helped the children look for books. And when story time was over, did he roar? No. And at first, the people in the library were a little nervous, but then they got what?
Used to it.
They got used to it. And so then we came to this part, right here, when everyone was used to the lion being here, and he understood the rules, he was quiet, and he didn't roar anymore. And we came to this part. We were just about to find out what happens next in the story, because if you remember, before we read this story, I read you the little blurb or the summary, right? And there was a big question that we had to answer. The author wanted us to answer this big question, which was, could there ever be a good reason to break the rules, even in the library? So we're going to find out what happens, and to see if there's ever a good reason to break the rules in the library. And that's going to make us think back to this. Remember, we talked about this poster? What does the white on this poster stand for? Good. And the black is for?
Bad.
Bad. And so we know that stories sometimes have characters that have to make a good decision, or good choices, or bad. And so we're going to find out how that poster and how that question is going to be answered. So let's read on. One day, after he had dusted all the encyclopedias and licked all the envelopes and helped all the small children, the lion padded down the hall to Miss Merriweather's office to see what else there was to do. There was still some time left before story hour.
Hello, Lion.
Almost there, she said. Then Miss Merriweather stretched a little too far. What do you think's going to happen on the next page?
She fell off.
I think she's going to fall off.
Who went to save her?
Look at the picture. What happened?
She fell.
She did fall. Turn to your partner and say what you think's going to happen next. Said Mrs. Merriweather. She did not get up. Mr. McBee, she called after a minute. Mr. McBee! Mr. McBee was in the circulation desk. He could not hear her calling. Lion, said Miss Merriweather, please go and get Mr. Break the rules. And now I'm thinking of the rules in the library. And one rule was to not run.
But he's supposed to run to break the rules.
Let's see what he does. The lion ran down the hall. No running, Miss Merriweather called after him. Look, even when she's needing help, she still doesn't want anyone to break the rules in her library. Look at that picture. What do you see the lion doing? Roaring. What's another rule in the library? Don't be loud. And look at that, he's roaring. I wonder why he had to roar like that. Let's read to find out why he's roaring, because he knows the rules. The lion put his big paws up on the circulation desk and looked at Mr. McBee. Ignored him. Finally, the lion did the only thing he could think to do. He looked at Mr. McBee right in the eye. Then he opened his mouth very wide, and he roared! Roared, the loudest roar he had ever roared in his life. And what in the picture lets you know that that's a pretty loud roar? Yeah, look at, things are flying off of the circulation desk. We see the author wrote the letters really big. And look at Mr. McBee's face. Show me what he's thinking. His glasses went right off his face. So what do you think Mr. McBee's going to go do next? Well, what do you think he's going to do? and tell him that? No, B's going to do what?
Go.
Go tell on that lion, isn't he? And when he goes to tell, what is he going to discover?
That she's fallen.
That she's fallen. Mr. McBee gasped. "Oh, you're not being quiet," he said to the lion. "You're breaking the rules." And Mr. McBee walked down the hall as fast as he could. The lion did not follow him. He had broken the rules. He knew what that meant. He hung his head and walked towards the door. Mr. McBee did not notice. "Miss Merriweather," he called as he walked. "Miss Merriweather, the lion broke the rules! The lion broke the rules!" And he burst into Miss Merriweather's office. She was not in her chair. "Miss Merriweather?" he asked. "Sometimes," said Miss Merriweather from the floor behind her desk, "there's a good reason to break the rules, even in the library. Now please go call a doctor. I think I've broken my arm." And Mr. McBee ran to call the doctor. "No running!" Miss Merriweather called after him.
She said you can break the rule.
The next day, things were back to normal. Almost.
Oh, she has a cast.
She does.
And the
Do you
lion's
notice?
not there.
I can see the cat. Why do you think the lion's not there today? He's been there every day.
She left. She broke the rules.
He broke the rules. Miss Merriweather's left arm was in the cast. The doctor had told her not to work too hard. "I will have my lion to help," Miss Merriweather thought. But the lion did not come to the library that morning. At 3 o'clock, Miss Merriweather walked over to the story corner. The story lady was just beginning the story for the children, and the lion was not there. Merriweather, he asked.
Get back the lion.
Oh, I heard someone make a prediction.
Get back the lion.
You think he's going to go find the lion?
Yes.
What does it look like he's doing in these pictures? Looks like sometimes there's a little bit of gray in there. Yeah, rules are rules and we shouldn't break them, and we have rules for a reason, but sometimes, maybe sometimes, it is okay to break the rule and make what we think might be a bad choice, because it really might be for a good choice. So I want you to think for a minute about a situation here at school maybe or at home where it might be to break